Last night in Argentina, something happened that nobody who was there will ever forget. We are not talking about a regular concert. We are not talking about just another night out. We are talking about 90,000 people packed into one place, shoulder to shoulder, breathing the same air, feeling the same electricity running through their bodies like a current they could not escape even if they wanted to. Last night, Bad Bunny turned Buenos Aires into something else entirely, and the whole world watched it happen in real time. A quick pause. Welcome to Inside the Heist. If you're enjoying this video, please subscribe, as that will help us on our long way to YouTube monetization. Now, back to the video. Now, before you think this is just another concert recap, just another piece about a singer doing his thing on a stage, let me stop you right there. Because what went down in Argentina last night was not just music. It was not just a performance, it was a statement. It was proof that some people on this earth carry a kind of power that goes way beyond lyrics and melodies and expensive stage lights. Some people walk into a room, or in this case, walk onto a stage in front of 90,000 screaming human beings, and they change the atmosphere completely. They change the temperature of the air. And Bad Bunny, right now, is one of those people. Think about that number for a second. 90,000 people. That is not a crowd. That is a city inside a stadium. That is enough people to fill a small town 3 times over, all gathered in one spot for one reason and one reason only: to be in the same space as this man from Puerto Rico who started making music in his bedroom and somehow ended up becoming the most streamed artist on the planet. And every single one of those 90,000 people got exactly what they came for, and then some. The atmosphere inside that stadium was something that words almost cannot do justice to. People who were there have been posting about it, talking about it, sending voice messages to their friends trying to explain what it felt like to stand in that crowd and feel the sound hit you in the chest like a wall. The lights, the production, the energy coming off the stage. But more than all of that, what people keep coming back to, what everyone cannot stop talking about, is the moment that turned a great concert into something historic. Because somewhere in the middle of that night, Bad Bunny stopped, and he started calling out countries, one by one: Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Puerto Rico, and with every name he called out, a different section of that crowd erupted like a volcano going off. Because those 90,000 people in that stadium were not all from Argentina. They had come from everywhere, from all across the Americas, from countries scattered across an entire continent. People had traveled, had saved money, had crossed borders just to be in that building on that night. And when he said their country's name, it was like he reached directly into their chest and squeezed their heart with his bare hand. That is not something you can fake. That is not something a stage director writes into a script. That is a man who understands his people, a man who knows exactly who is in front of him and exactly what they need to hear. And the reactions, the videos coming out of that stadium showing people breaking down, crying, jumping, screaming, grabbing strangers and hugging them like they had known each other their whole lives, that is the real story here. That is the thing that makes this more than just entertainment. Now, let us zoom out for a second, because to really understand what happened last night, you need to understand who Bad Bunny actually is at this point in history. This is not a regular artist having a good run. This is not somebody riding a trend or getting lucky with one song. This man has been at the absolute top of the music world for years straight. He has broken streaming records that people thought were unbreakable. He has sold out stadiums on every continent. He has crossed over into fashion, into film, into professional wrestling, into the kind of cultural territory that most musicians never even get close to. And he did all of it without ever abandoning where he came from, without ever switching his language, without ever pretending to be something he is not. He raps and sings almost entirely in Spanish. He never chased the crossover the way the industry expected him to. He never made the English language album that labels were probably pushing him toward. He stayed rooted in his culture, in his sound, in his identity, and the world came to him instead. That is the kind of move that most people in the entertainment industry are too scared to make, and he made it look effortless. He made it look like there was never any other option. And now, here he is, selling out stadiums in South America with crowds so massive and so passionate that you almost cannot believe what you are seeing is real. But here's the part that really puts everything into perspective. Just weeks before this concert in Argentina, Bad Bunny performed at the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, the biggest single sporting event in the United States, the most watched television broadcast in American soil every single year, with over 100 million people tuned in. And he was on that halftime stage, and he commanded it the same way he commanded Buenos Aires last night, with that same energy, that same magnetic pull, that same undeniable presence that makes you stop whatever you are doing and pay attention whether you want to or not. Think about what that combination represents: the Super Bowl halftime show and then 90,000 people in Argentina losing their minds. That is not the trajectory of a musician. That is the trajectory of an icon. That is the kind of run that gets written about in history books, that gets talked about in documentaries 20 years from now when people are trying to explain what this era of music felt like to somebody who was not there to experience it. And what makes it even more powerful is what he represents to the people watching him. For a lot of Latin Americans, for a lot of people in that crowd in Buenos Aires, and for a lot of people watching the videos from their phones across the continent, Bad Bunny is not just an artist they like, he's proof of something. He's proof that you don't have to change who you are to make it. He's proof that your language, your accent, your culture, the place you come from, none of that is a limitation. None of that is something you need to hide or soften or make more palatable for outside consumption. He carried all of that with him straight to the top and dared the world to look away, and the world could not. So when he called out those countries last night, it hit different because of all that history behind it. It was not just a crowd interaction moment, it was not just a concert trick. It was a man telling 90,000 people that he sees them, that he knows who they are and where they came from, and that none of that gets left at the door when they walk into his world, that all of it belongs there. And for people who spend their whole lives feeling like their culture is something to be explained or justified or made more palatable for outside consumption, hearing that in a stadium surrounded by 90,000 others who feel the exact same way is something that hits you on a level that goes way deeper than music. The videos kept coming all through the night and into the morning, people crying with their flags, groups of friends from Venezuela, from Colombia, from everywhere, holding each other up because their legs were giving out from the emotion of it. One video showed a woman from Peru who said she had been saving for 2 years to get to that concert. 2 years, and when she heard her country called out, she said it felt like everything was worth it all at once. Another video showed a group of young guys from the Dominican Republic who had driven hours just to get to Buenos Aires in time, sleeping in a van, barely eating, and when Bad Bunny said their country, they just completely fell apart in the best possible way. This is what the Super Bowl did for him too, not just in terms of exposure, because the man was already the most streamed artist on the planet, he didn't need more exposure, but what the Super Bowl did was confirm something in the minds of people who maybe still needed to see it confirmed. It said, this is not a niche, this is not a regional thing, this is not something that only certain people get to appreciate, this is the biggest stage in America, and this man from Puerto Rico who never stopped being exactly who he is, has been invited to stand on it and share his world with over 100 million people. And he did it, and it was undeniable, and now nobody gets to argue about where he sits in the culture anymore. The power of that combination, the Super Bowl and then Buenos Aires, is that it speaks to two completely different audiences but tells them the same story. To the mainstream American audience watching the halftime show, it says, "This is where Latin music lives right now. This is how big it is. This is what it feels like when it hits you full force." And to the 90,000 people in that stadium in Argentina, it says, "Your music, your culture, your language is sitting at the top of the world, not sneaking in through a side door, not being tolerated, sitting at the very top with the whole world watching, and it got there on its own terms." That is a rare thing. That is an almost impossibly rare thing in an industry that has spent decades trying to sand down the edges of artists who don't fit a certain mold, trying to make things more palatable, more accessible, more commercially friendly for the biggest possible audience. Bad Bunny somehow found. Last night in Argentina was one of those moments that gets bigger over time. Right now, it is a viral video. Right now, it is people sharing clips on their phones and commenting and reposting and talking about it with their friends. But give it a few years and it becomes one of those nights people reference when they talk about where they were, what they felt, how they knew in that moment that something historic was happening around them. 90,000 people inside a stadium and millions more watching from outside, all connected by this one man on a stage calling out their countries and making them feel seen in a way that the world does not always make people feel seen. There are artists, and then there are icons. Artists make great music. Icons make people feel something about themselves, about where they come from, about what is possible. Icons make 90,000 people cry and jump and scream and hold each other in a stadium in South America on a Thursday night. Icons perform at the Super Bowl and then turn around and sell out another continent and make it look like they are just getting started. Bad Bunny is an icon. And last night in Argentina, in front of 90,000 people who came from everywhere and felt everything, he proved it all over again. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.